friends. We are so happy you've joined us live here tonight. This is After 83 Weeks, kind of like an after party for 83 weeks. And this week we are celebrating the Bischoff farewell party from wrestling that went down in TNA about 10 years ago. And we are going to give you the opportunity to ask any question you'd like all about the show of the one and only Mr. Garett Bischoff himself. My name is Christy. I got all my friends here with me tonight. Steve Kaufmann and Mr. Adam Woods are here. We just had to say farewell to G. Herm, but he'll be back next week. Great to see you guys.
Yeah, great to be here. Yeah, amazing times.
Always. And we are about to get into a little, pun intended, some shiz with one Garett Bischoff tonight. Hey, Eric, how did you feel about watching back this big moment? I forget, what did they call it? The something of shame. The
walk of shame. I've done plenty of those.
What did it feel like to relive this moment?
It was fun. I mean, I laughed all the way through it. You know, if you heard the show, I was chuckling to myself and out loud pretty well. It was pretty fun to watch.
And the one thing I wanted to know when I watched it back, and I hope everybody got the opportunity to do that, Ad-Free Shows gave us the video there, and you can check it out. I suggest you do so. The announcers were really putting over the smell in the arena when you came out covered in faux chocolate sauce, shall we say. Did you guys pump any kind of fake smell into the arena to really sell it? Or were they just being, great commentators?
Gosh, that sounds vaguely familiar. I'm not sure if we did it on that episode. Or maybe it was just discussed. I don't know, but it's the audience that you'll be able to tell from. If the audience is reacting, then yeah, we had a little help. If it was just the announcers, then they were just doing a good job creating the illusion.
Well, it was really fun to watch this one back, and I know we're not the only ones who did so. I want to say hi to our friend McMack. Justin, Ryan is here, Alex, everybody's joined us live. And guys, just make sure if you've got a question for Eric, you can post it there in the live chat. And we hope our friends from Ad-Free Shows are here as well. You can lob your questions at us right now, but you get a special 10 minutes at the end of the show as well to get your questions answered. And we are going to kick it off with this one, Eric, from Mr. McMack. This is a good one. This isn't a joke. He is really stirring some stuff up here. He wants to know, is it true you once said if it wasn't for you, Chris Jericho would be working at a bowling alley, polishing lanes, and spraying shoes?
I may have. That sounds like something I would have said in a promo. But I don't remember saying it. But it sounds like something I would get a kick out of saying. And Steve, you're doing a phenomenal job, by the way. I just want to tell you that.
Why, thank you. It's good. He clarified which Steve he wants to get put over this time. Last week he said Pirate Steve, and we were very confused.
This is true. Now, I love that we're kind of talking about, I guess, fecal matter, especially after the whole Amber Heard, Johnny Depp trial goings on. I mean, smelly, isn't it? But I mean, the universe is working to kind of put these two together. This TNA episode and Amber Heard's trial. I love it.
Yeah, the universe is working to somehow mystically bring all this shit right to the forefront.
10 points. Yes.
Oh, man.
It's interesting that we bring that up. You mentioned last week you were keeping an eye on the on the Johnny and Amber trial. The Kardashians are also in a spot right now with their former co-star, I guess we should call her Black China. And that involves a lot of TV rights, renewals, contracts, and things. Is that something that you've dived into at all?
No, God, no. No, I don't mind occasionally watching a train wreck on TV, for a few minutes like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. But if I find myself seeking out that kind of entertainment, then there's something wrong with me. So, no, I haven't seen that. And if it pops up on my feed, I'll ignore it because I just don't want to watch it. You can only take so many really good car wrecks in one day or 1 week or 1 month. And I think the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp thing is about as trashy as I feel like getting or allowing myself to get.
Well, the not trashy is your homeboy, Mr. Elon Musk, purchased Twitter. It's successful. So I believe, I think we can let the cat out of the bag. It's like you and Joe Rogan are on the board of directors at Twitter, right?
Yeah. Yeah, might as well start spreading rumors, right? Except for no one would believe that. See, a good rumor has to have some degree of plausibility, just like a good storyline. In fact, a good rumor is a good storyline, if you really want to look at it that way. But yeah, there's no plausibility in that, so I can't even try to make it funny.
So
There's
a good
a
rumor,
like
a good
tweet.
rumor would be that Elon Musk is considering Garett Bischoff to be on his board.
That's plausible. Well, it depends how far you're willing to go to define plausible, but at least kind of, sort of, maybe in a really weird world. But yeah.
So
All right,
long
well,
as we don't
something
talk
that's
too much
for
trash, we are
sure.
live on Twitter right now.
Oh, well.
Oh, okay.
Just let's not talk too much trash, and then we get to stay.
Yeah, I like it. I
Eric,
mean, where can you go
news
from Amber
reports
Heard?
say, well, here's where we're gonna go. One more thing on Twitter. News reports say that allegedly celebrities and liberals are leaving Twitter in droves in response to this news that Elon Musk potentially plans to make it a more of a free speech space. Do you think that Elon Musk so far is bad for business at Twitter?
I don't know, man. None of us do. I think the whole thing is kind of silly. I think people that are overreacting to the degree that they're overreacting when they don't even know what they're reacting to yet. I mean, what? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Let them, whatever. No, because who cares if people that wacky leave? Let them leave. Where are they going to go? I don't care. Go chase fucking butterflies in a field somewhere. I don't care what you do. Doesn't matter to me. Why would I care? And I don't think Elon cares.
Alex Bain has to say Twitter should have a brand split and Eric can have the Thursday show.
No thanks. I suck at Thursday shows. My track record on Thursday shows are 0-2, so I'm staying away from Thursday.
Oh, well, except for this one here. And just a little while ago, Mick Mac mentioned Chris Jericho. I'm curious if you've tuned in at all to what he's doing right now on AEW, calling himself and his crew, the Jericho Appreciation Squad, sports entertainers. Last night, they referred to the AEW fans as the AEW Galaxy. Do you think that they are pushing things maybe a little too hard, like poking the bear, and they may get some legal pushback on some of these phrases?
No. Look, I think that's funny. There's no harm, no foul. You know, you're having fun. I don't know. Look, that kind of stuff doesn't bother me. What begins to irritate me, particularly when it's overdone, it just becomes more and more obvious, is the personal shots, unfair, unrealistic comparisons. Disparaging comments that really kind of don't make much sense, really, from a business perspective. That's like cheap heat stuff. But I think what Chris is doing, I mean, that's my interpretation of it. I think it's funny. I think it's entertainment value. Good for him. It's kind of a parody storyline, right? Nothing wrong with that. I don't know how well it'll work, but at least it's entertaining.
I think that the vibe of it is very similar to what Zack Ryder did and is doing in GCW. That you find the hardcore anti-WWE crowd, and the best way to be a heel is to be the most WWE you can be.
Yeah, I'll go with that. That makes sense. It's kind of reverse psychology, right? I like it.
Yeah. It's better than just running down a hometown and then still trying to sell your T-shirt.
Yeah.
Just a Pavlovian heel.
Listen to you, Pavlovian heel, huh? Uh-huh. Time to take the pebble from my hand. Grasshopper. That's a callback. You weren't even born yet then.
Wow, guys.
I know it's a kung fu movie. I was about to say Karate Kid, and then that would have just very much aged me.
Oh, no. That would have been obvious. I mean, you already don't know. It's called Kung Fu, David Carradine.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually, okay.
It was on in syndication for decades. You can probably still find it.
On TBS. It was for a while.
Yeah. There you go. It's probably getting, a couple 100,000 viewers a week.
Yeah.
Actually, Christy, we have a question for you in the chat. and it's $2 and it's Mary Kate and Ashley Olson. Christy, our long-lost sister, we finally found you.
Wow, after all these years, I'll take my cut now, ladies. Oh, we have fun here, guys. And I want to have a little more fun by asking you, Eric, about this very stylish and debonair mustache that we saw you rocking on the episodes you guys covered of TNA. We haven't often seen you with a mustache. Is that something that you just, you didn't love the look of it, or you like to save it for occasions when you really want to look a certain way, shall we say?
Well, do say.
Well, I think a lot of people maybe associate mustaches with a bit of creepiness. You know, it seems like something that might work.
No,
really
you're
well
saying
for
I look like a
heel.
creep. You're telling me I look like a creep with a goatee.
You look slightly less kind and gentle with the mustache.
Huh. Didn't know I had that effect on you, Chrissy.
That was a long time ago.
No, I don't know. You know, I grow facial hair from time to time, especially in the wintertime. I'll grow a beard out and I'll get tired of the beard, and I'll just have a goatee, and then I'll get tired of that. I'll shave for about a month or two, and I'll start all over again. So it just depends what I'm doing, I guess. But I didn't know I looked less cuddly and gentle.
Have you ever considered facial hair when entering an on-screen role as a bad guy versus a good guy? Or is that just a personal preference for you?
I'm
So
saying facial hair is bad guy stuff.
I want to make sure I understand the question. You're saying when I was playing a bad guy on TV, did I consider my facial hair to be
a part of the character you were portraying on TV?
You know, I never gave it that much thought. I really didn't. You know, as a heel on TV, I think it just didn't really matter what I looked like too much. It mattered what I said. You know, my character was fairly well established. I wasn't trying to be a pretty boy, or, you know, I didn't want to look like an announcer. You know, I was kind of being like the, I guess, opposite of a good boss. So I may have thought about it in that regard, just giving myself mental permission, but no more than that.
Have you ever done in facial hair stylings in homage of a celebrity of sorts? I know I went with like a Stevie Ray Vaughan, Bruce Springsteen soul patch a couple years ago. Did you ever do any of that?
No, I think I think while I was in high school, I grew a Burt Reynolds mustache, but I kind of grew out of it all after that.
10 points.
All right. Well, let's climb back in the ring with this question from Josh Eternal, who asked, Eric, what did you think of Edge when he was Damon Stryker? Going way back.
Sorry, Edge, and Josh, I don't recall it. It must have been one of my lapsed fan periods. We had a long discussion about lapsed fans today on Strictly Business over at Ad Free Shows, where we talk about nothing but the business of the wrestling business. No fanboy nonsense, no dirt sheet narrative. We just talk about facts as they relate to business over on Strictly Business, baby. AdFreeShows.com. We talked a lot about that. Lapsed fans, passive fans. Now, I might have been an Edge lapsed fan at that point.
I did a
Well, and
quick
I know that
Googling.
episode of Strictly Business just went up, so we will make sure that I only got about 10 minutes in. So we might have some questions for you next week, some follow-ups on that. Go ahead, Steve.
I did a quick Googling. It was Edge. It looks like he was doing enhancement stuff in 1996. It looks like a WCW Pro.
Well, there's a reason why I don't remember it. I wasn't a lapsed fan. I was a non-fan. I didn't even know who he was. How the hell would I know who he was?
You weren't keeping track of all the enhancement guys? Come on, Eric.
No!
Joey Maggs? Come on. He was high on the totem pole, right? No?
Come on, don't pick on Joey.
Oh, Joey's awesome.
Joey had heart.
Yes.
When you hear that someone like Edge,
That's what they say. That's what they say about people that really don't have the talent to be on the roster, but they've got heart. So we'll keep them around because they got heart.
that's so sad. As far as Edge goes,
that was not meant to be disparaging to anybody that is sitting on that roster with nothing to do. Don't mean to make fun of you. It's not your fault.
Right. Yeah.
Well, when you hear
Yeah,
that
maybe
Edge
it
was
is.
kind of
Maybe it
hanging
is your fault.
around-
I don't know. Could be all your fault. The fuck do I know?
No offense, maybe a little offense.
No, I'm just thinking about it to myself. You know, why I want to say, "Oh, it's not your fault," you know, but actually, it is. You've decided you're comfortable there. Whatever. Let's move on. You pick it up, people. It's not my style.
Well, back to Edge. When you hear that he was hanging around as enhancement talent over at WCW, and there was possibly an opportunity to kind of scoop him up and have him be a WCW guy, do you think like, oh man, I really could have used him?
No, that thought never crossed my mind. But I want to make sure I'm understanding this timeline. So, are you suggesting that Edge was actually an enhancement talent in WCW?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. Well, that's a nice little tidbit of information. Now I understand why at least understand why Josh Eternal asked the question. It makes sense now. No, and I'm sorry. There were a lot of enhancement talent that came through that I never laid eyes on, or if I did, that I wasn't the guy that was looking to develop and hire new talent. There were other people. Terry Taylor did a lot of that. Kevin Sullivan did a lot of that. I didn't do any of it. Stayed away from that. Wasn't my
You can
area.
take no responsibility for WCW missing the
No,
Edge
it
bus.
just was not my area of expertise. The key to success is knowing what you don't know. So there you go. Next question. Let's move on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's just go there. Thank you again, Mick Mac. He wants to know, did Scott Steiner, right, apologize to you? He said life is short for grudges and he needs to grow up at WWE Hall of Fame. That's what he said. So did he ever offer you an apology, Eric?
No. But I don't feel as though
Were you
I
looking
need
for
one.
Right.
I don't feel like I need one. I don't really care. This doesn't bother me, anything that Scott said. I still, I think highly of Scott. I think positively of Scott. I know Scott a little bit. Sometimes the shit that he says is, it's just Scott being Scott. So no apology and none necessary. And what do I think of the Iconics leaving Impact?
Yes. Big news.
I do not have a thought. I have not watched them on Impact. I've not watched Impact. I dropped in once. I went, no, I'm not watching this. No. And again, it sounds like I'm busting on, the talent, the great talent from what I've seen and what I've read and keeping up with the news of it all. It's not a talent issue, but my God, that's like taking wrestling back 100 years and not in a good way. Maybe not 100. That's exaggerating, but 25 or 30 for sure, and not in a good way.
Well, they really got their opportunity to show what they can do over at WWE before being in TNA. And Cassie announced today that her plans are to leave wrestling entirely and pursue a career in Hollywood. She wants to star in a rom-com someday.
You know what? I think that's cool. And
Yeah.
there's nothing, I think that's a positive thing. You got two young ladies that had a goal, had a dream, had an opportunity. It played out, not the way they wanted it to, but it played out. And they dabbled around a little bit to try to find a way to keep it going. And look, you get up one morning and you go, okay, that goes in the back seat, going down the road now, heading in a different direction. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I admire people who have the ability to be honest with themselves and confident enough in themselves to go, you know what, this isn't working. I'm going to go pursue something else. I think that's a really overall positive thing. So hats off to you.
Yeah.
And do you
Big
prefer
expectation.
something like that versus somebody that might stick in the business maybe long past their sell-by date and maybe phone it in, for years and years on end, rather than just to cleanly step away?
Yeah, I don't think too many people in the wrestling business phone it in. I think those that are on a roster and getting an opportunity are going to generally work as hard as they're capable of working. I've never known anybody that was consistently lazy. But I think that, again, the magic is just to not settle You know, you come into something like professional wrestling and you got a dream, you've got a goal. It's fun. You're learning, you're experiencing things, you're traveling. In the Iconics perspective, they were able to play on the big stage and all that meant. All those are really positive experiences that many people only dream of having, and they had it. They lived it. And to be able to be young enough too, and that's the thing that I admire here, is to be young enough to go, okay, that's not going to, I don't want to keep pursuing this if it isn't going to get me where I want to go. It's time to take a next step. Damn, I think that's impressive. Go, girls.
Yeah.
Success is all about finding out what isn't working for you.
And building on it. You know, and I'm sorry, I'm not familiar enough with the Iconics. Which one of them wants to do romantic comedies?
Cassie does, the former Peyton Royce.
Okay, well, guess what? Cassie now has a lot more experience and a lot better opportunity and a much greater chance of getting cast in a role like that because of the experience that she had. It could lead to something much bigger than what she could have had in WWE. Who knows? But the important part is she's chasing it and she's got a goal. Cool. I love it. Happy face.
Yeah, you know, her hubby's over at AEW, so fingers crossed that maybe we could see them as a couple on whatever the Roads to the Top replacement is going to be, or if maybe AEW is able to work out some more unscripted series within their, holy moly, thunder, folks. If AEW is able to get maybe some more unscripted series on the docket now that it looks like that's what the new company is looking for.
We'll see. I think it's a little early to tell. And another thing we talked about on Strictly Business, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I predicted, in a way, well, it wasn't necessarily a prediction. I gave two perspectives. One perspective is Discovery's going to come in and they're going to build around a Paramount-like model, meaning they're going to invest heavily in scripted content, very, very high level, you know, A-list star, you know, level scripted content. That's what Paramount has done and appears to be continuing to do. Or they could go back to the unscripted. We're talking about procedural reality shows, not Kardashian, you know, reality, but procedurals, docudramas. That's what made history. Now, those are much, much less expensive to shoot. So my position was, look, if Discovery comes in and says, we're going to invest heavily in scripted, if I'm AEW, I'm looking for another opportunity right now. And my other perspective was, what if Discovery comes in and says, you know what, we're going to get away from scripted and we're going to go back to a much less expensive form of content, meaning what brought Discovery to the dance, reality, procedural realities, you know, documentaries, that kind of thing. Now, AEW kind of falls somewhere in the middle. They're scripted programming. So on first glance, you go, oh my gosh, you're getting away from scripted programming. Well, they're getting away from scripted programming because it's so freaking expensive. AEW is not expensive compared to the cost of a 1 hour scripted series, especially one in the caliber of Yellowstone, for example. You're looking at $10, $15 million an episode. It's really expensive.
Right.
Whereas AEW scripted content is what, about $250,000 an hour. So we'll see. But my point to this was, other than to plug Strictly Business again, because it's a great show over at Ad Free Shows, was that it's way too early. These moves that we're seeing now, these are just phase one. I think it's going to be 6 months before we start to really get a feel for the direction the network is going to take. And what kind of non-scripted, or in AEW's case, we'll call it lightly scripted content, are they going to build their networks around? You know, do they want it to be comedy? Do they want it to be do-it-yourself? Here's how to make a go-kart for your kids stuff. I mean, who knows what it's going to be? None of us do. But I think projecting what we want to happen or what we're afraid is going to happen, I think it's so early to have those kind of reactions at this point.
I think it's fun that Tony Khan and Anderson Cooper are on the same pecking order. Like, I just think it's fun.
I don't get that one at all. It's been a long day, long couple days. Maybe it's because I'm a little tired, but I don't get that one at all.
Because I think they're both showrunners under Discovery. Is that
Yes.
what you mean? Yes.
Oh, okay. Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
That they're both showrunners under Discovery.
Anderson Cooper and Tony Khan are on the same level.
And wondering where they fit in Discovery's plans.
Yeah, I guess you would, because I don't. He's not a showrunner. I mean, he is in a sense. In a practical sense, Tony is a showrunner, but typically showrunners are working directly for the network. Right? So, for instance, Roads to the Top. The showrunner for that show didn't work for AEW. He worked for the network. He worked with AEW, but not for them. He was responsible to the network. That's typically what a showrunner does. They're responsible to the network. That's why networks, typically, if you sell a show to a network, the network always reserves, well, it depends on who you are, but generally speaking, the network reserves the right to attach, at least approve the showrunner, because the showrunner is going to be working directly with the network, almost as much or more than they're working with the producers or creators, because the showrunner is responsible for the network's budget.
I think two last things on this topic. One, Alex Bain wants to know, you should produce something someday. It sounds like you know what you're talking about. And then Justin Vick has an idea, which is Ad Free Shows launches its first reality show, and it's with the Iconics. I'll get Michael Dawkins on the line, see if we can grab the Iconics as a name.
I mean, I think you just follow them along doing all of their photo shoots and them being them. Classic.
Yeah.
That's the format for the Kardashians. No matter where they go, they have a photo shoot. And they start fighting.
Cassie and Jess are so much more likable and so much more entertaining and have so much more substance.
There you go. I'm for it. I'm all about it. Kaufmann, take the lead on this one, will you?
Okay, I'll hit them up. Alex Bain also wants to know if AEW should do a show like Tough Enough.
Ooh, did love me some Tough Enough. We all did.
Maybe down the road. I don't think right now they should be doing anything other than, really focusing on what they have, especially right now with nothing's going to happen at Time Warner. I'm glad I'm not right in the middle. I've been in this situation before, not just in wrestling, but in similar situations when Jason and I were producing TV, where we'd have a show that we'd been working on with the network for 6 months. We start casting and we're doing this, we're doing that. And then we find out that the executive in charge is being replaced. You know what that means? For a period of about 3 months or so, 6 months, nobody's fucking making any decisions about anything. Until you know who's going to be in that chair, and until you know what that person wants, everybody is in a duck and cover mentality, right? Nobody is making a decision about anything right now, and they won't until, like everybody else, they figure out what's the direction of the company. What type of content are we going to use as our core content? Until that time, nobody's going to greenlight shit. Not shit.
It's the substitute teacher. We're all going to watch Spider-Man 2.
It is. And again, Jason and I were pitching shows when that very thing happened, and your project dies a miserable death. And here's another thing. When a new executive comes in to replace a former executive, the new executive doesn't want anything to do with anything the old executive was touching, because guess what? There's a reason he's an ex-executive. So why would I want to do anything that he wanted to do or she wanted to do? Because their ass got fired. I don't want anything to do with it. It's a stink bomb. Get it out of my room. Don't ever bring it up to me again.
No.
That's what happens. I've been through it several times. It's horrible.
Pay or play. That's
It's horrible.
Yeah.
What we're kind of talking about what works then and now. You talked a lot about that GM role in pro wrestling, that it wouldn't go over as well now, you think, as it did back in the day. I watched this episode of TNA tonight with your farewell party. The crowd couldn't have been hotter. Like, you could not have had more heat. Do you think that a storyline like that would work in 2022?
I'm not sure I'm following you, Christy. Like, what do you mean? I mean, my storyline
Well, you've
was...
already said, like, you don't want to be a GM because that's tired and people don't really go for it anymore. But you being an authority figure on this episode of TNA and having your whole farewell party, I mean, the people hated you, Eric. They loathed you when you were out there. They were
A lot of them
booing,
still
they
do.
were
You should see my
chanting.
social media feed. A lot of them still do. I
So
notice
don't you
most of
think
them
that you
only
could
have
do
6
this now?
followers. But, you know.
Right. But they're pretty loud. Don't you think that you could play out this almost exact same scenario now in
Now?
2022? Yeah.
No, not me. No, fuck, I'm too old. No. And here's what
you grow a
happens.
mustache, you have that heat back in a second.
Hey, I wouldn't be warm and cuddly and huggable and all that shit. So I know that's not exactly what you said, Christy, but allow me to have fun with it anyway. Here's the truth from my perspective. If I showed up in a similar role today as a heel character, it would be a little harder for me now because, and I'm not saying this to be self-deprecating humor or anything other than the reality. I'm old now. And here's what happens to guys like me that have been around for a long time, that had the privilege of playing at a pretty high level for a while. As you get older, even if you were a heel, they like you. You'll get that Pavlov's dog heat if you ask for it for a little while, and then they get tired of it because it's been there, done that. And there's no way the only way that I could play a role like that now is if I was physically able, which I'm not in a way that anybody would want to see on television, to get in there and bounce around and be a threat like Kurt Angle was in the general manager role. I could never do that. I didn't have that credibility. I didn't have the physical ability either, or the skill. But even if I thought I did, you have to have a lot of credibility if you're going to challenge a wrestler in that authority figure role. And that's the only way it would work for me. And that wouldn't work. So no, it's over for me. It's done. People like me too much now. They don't want to hate me anymore.
What if it were
they do on the internet. There's all those guys that have, out of 300 really, horrible email or social media posts that I get on Twitter, I would say 90% of them, when I look at them to see who they are, they've got like 3 followers or 10. They've been on Twitter for 4 years. They got 10 followers. I give a fuck what you think. Come on. What? Whoa. Lori. Fucks left to give. How many do I have left? That's what I thought. Not doing it.
Not one.
So what if you were a babyface authority figure and there was someone like Wardlow who came out with you at all times? Like you had an enforcer and you had the authority and then you had an enforcer.
Yeah, but if you're a babyface, you don't need an enforcer. You're just always going to do the right thing.
But like when you go toe to toe with the heels, that's when your enforcer comes in. Or is that already kind of squeamish?
That makes you a chicken shit now. See, if you're in that authority role and you're in that confrontation, it's going to go one of two ways. You're either going to win in that it could be a verbal conversation or confrontation, in a promo setting. You're either going to come out on top, which means you're basically burying the heel and killing their heat, and they have no chance of getting it back in a scenario like that. Or you're a chicken shit because you're not backing it up and you're backing down. So there's no way to win as a babyface in that role.
That's fair.
I don't think.
Babyface GM is a hard spot to begin with.
Who wants that?
No.
Fuck. I would hate that. I would hate that because you're never going to be able to do enough to sustain a good babyface reaction. That requires action in the ring. That requires having dominance over somebody that's trying to take something away from you, presumably if there's a storyline involved, which is, who knows. But that's it. It just doesn't work as a babyface authority figure. It just doesn't work. A heel, the right one, maybe. but and even because it's been done to death. Oh my God, it's been done to death, right? Maybe in 5 years. Call me in 5 years. In 5 years, I'll be how old is it? 72.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe I'll come back. I have really long, scraggly hair. I have this old man beard, like the Wizard of fucking Oz or some shit. Come out and be all evil and scary and like do hocus pocus and shit. Yeah. Maybe.
So you're less of an authority figure and more a magician at 72. I kind of like this. We should book this.
Yeah.
If my hocus pocus game was like where it should be, that'd be kind of fun. With
David Carradine
spells on people and shit. That'd be fun.
You talked about the power of forever when it comes to the stuff we do here. This clip and this pitch will exist forever.
Watch it. Somebody will do it on TV in about 3 weeks. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yes. Yes.
My procrastination. No, not procrastination. What do you call it? When you
Consternation?
Yeah, that shit. I'd be 3-0. I would have called 3 things in the future. If somebody turns this into a storyline, I love this. This is a fun game.
I like this. The magical GM.
Yeah.
Isn't that Alex Abrahantes?
I'd steal the Scott Hall thing, right? I'd bring it back. It'd be a recall by then. Mm-hmm. People would get it. They go, oh, remember that guy? That guy. Yeah, we're keeping it alive.
Pop.
Well, I know that Lori plans on the 2 of you living until you're 120, so that gives you plenty of time, Eric, to play out any of these scenarios.
She told you that. She believes that too.
Yeah. And she's feeding you to support it. So
yeah, she takes good care of me.
She does.
I actually have to ask. You mentioned what you were eating on this episode. What's for dinner tonight?
Oh yeah.
For me?
Yeah.
I have a
Okay.
salad. I have a monster of a salad. I mean, it's literally in a bowl that wide and about that deep. And it's got anchovies in it, and it's just oranges, blue cheese, seeds, nuts. Oh, it's so good. And then when I'm done with that, because I knew I was coming out here, so I ate the salad about half hour before I came out here. By the time I get done with the show, I'll be hungry again, and we're going to have shrimp on the barbie. There you go, Mac. Shrimp on the barbie. Yay!
There you go.
Love it.
The fans love the culinary adventures of the Bischoffs.
Mm-hmm.
We have to let them in on what's happening tonight.
All right.
And Justin Vick doesn't like anchovies.
I mean, who does besides EB over here?
I eat more anchovies. I bet you if somebody did a study like of who eats the most anchovies in the state of Wyoming, maybe in the whole Rocky Mountain region, I would probably get it. I eat a lot of anchovies. We actually buy my anchovies from a distributor in town because I eat so many, we don't want to buy them, from a grocery store. They're too expensive. So we get these big, like 1 pound cans of really good anchovies, like Italian, really good. Love anchovies.
Oh, while we are on this, here is a great one from Mike Miller, who's asking Eric, what is the grossest rib you've ever seen?
I've seen no ribs. I've seen the result of ribs, like guys missing eyebrows and shit like that, but that's usually a day or 2 after it happened. I wasn't there when it was happening. I wasn't one of the boys. I didn't travel on the road with them where all that shady shenanigans took place. So I didn't see any. Heard about them, just like everybody else, but
You're shielded from that, I guess.
Alex Bain wants to send you some crawfish from South Carolina.
I love me some crawfish.
There you go.
Love me some crawfish.
Alex Bain, you just committed yourself to an expensive proposition.
Yeah.
No, crawfish aren't that expensive. Shipping them might be a little expensive, but no, crawfish are relatively cheap. I sometimes catch them. I catch them down at the lake. We have crawdads. We call them crawdads.
Yeah.
We have traps for them, and you put them in the water and you bait it a little bit. Come back in a day or 2 later, and there's many crawfish in that thing, and boil them babies up. So good.
Wow.
Love it.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about another guy who's been in power in the world of wrestling here. Adam from Bama is telling you, Eric, that Tony Khan was on Busted Open Radio on Wednesday. He compared AEW's relationship with New Japan, saying that it's just as good as when WCW had their relationship with New Japan. I actually have his exact comments right here because I wanted to get your thoughts on this. So what Tony had to say was that, quote, historically, I think it's very fitting that New Japan Pro Wrestling is working with a company that is on TNT and TBS again. You know, they had a great relationship with WCW for many years, and it was a very fruitful partnership. We saw some of the great stars of New Japan and WCW, and again, a lot of the great stars, WCW went over and competed in New Japan. So I think it's a similar relationship that we have now where both companies are doing great, and it makes sense for the stars of New Japan to come and feature and be seen on TBS and TNT again. Sounds a little bit like, is this an olive branch that Tony is extending? Like giving props to this relationship that you created between WCW and New Japan?
Oh, I didn't take it that way. I just took it as Tony being, that was a very honest, positive way to position what he's doing with New Japan. I didn't find one thing about that to be pandering or exaggerating or anything. I think it was a very honest, positive statement. I don't find anything, you know, see, and this is why I have to be careful, is it would have been really easy for me to react to the question the way it was posted. Okay. Because the way it was posted, if you pull it back up, if I'm correct, it was designed to lead me. I could have easily allowed myself to believe that Tony is saying that his relationship is just as good as the one that I had with New Japan. That's the way that reads to me. Now, fortunately, and Christy, I appreciate you reading what Tony said, but I had already seen that earlier today. So had I not seen that earlier today and I would have gotten that question, I would have probably reacted to the part where it says, basically he's saying his relationship is just as good as, you know, mine was with New Japan. But that's not what he said. He says they're two great companies and it makes sense for them to exchange talent. And guess what? It does. So it's a good comment. And I hope that, you know, working with New Japan is a good decision for them. You know, hope it adds value.
People are going to get all excited now. It sounds like Tony's being complimentary. You're open to it.
No, I'm just being honest.
How rumors start, Eric.
I'm just being honest. It's okay. But see, here's the difference. When I'm honest and I'm pointing out something that I think is a mistake or wrong or something that I take issue with, then, oh, he's burying the company. He's just angry that Tony won't hire him. He's just a bitter old man. Fuck. You're telling that to your 6 followers. It's just, it's so odd. And then when I say something that's honest, but yet not negative, it's like, oh, he's kissing up. Oh, it's a 6 extent. Now, I'm not making fun of you, Christy, but it's all like, oh, Eric's trying to make nice with Tony Khan now. No, I'm not. And I'm not trying to make him angry either. It is what it is. You ask me a question, I give you an honest answer. Sometimes it makes people laugh. Sometimes it makes people mad. Sometimes it makes people go, he's right.
Tony Khan for Top Guy Weekend. Allegedly. There we go.
I haven't heard that one. Steve, is that true?
I heard it from San Jose. Someplace in
Just,
San Jose.
the whole city of San Jose told you. No,
Yeah.
If Tony Khan is spotted at Top Guy Weekend, it wouldn't be advertised. I can admit to that.
There we go. 10 points.
Stand by, folks.
Thomas Gidlow gave us a super chat. One, he wants to know where you can buy the sweet 83 Weeks hat. I want to say that's adfreecares.com.
Yes.
I'll double check on that. And did anyone see the Ember Moon interview today? She had quite the passion for the business and got really effed over on her way out of the WWE.
I did not see it. So did any of you guys see it?
I did not see it. I think that the characterization that she really got effed over on her way out, though. As someone who was paying attention to everything that was going down at that point, she got a lot of opportunities over there. So I will definitely be listening to that interview, Thomas, and maybe you and I can chat about it.
So you would not agree that Ember Moon got effed over?
I would not agree that Ember Moon got effed over. From what I saw when I was there, she was highly regarded by everyone. And again, I believe she was given a lot of opportunities that didn't pan out the way that others opportunities did, and was still given more opportunities. So I'd be really interested to hear what her take on that was.
I had a chance to work with Ember briefly when I was with the WWE back in 2019. I liked her. Just my initial vibe in talking to her about creative and where she saw her character, I thought she was very grounded. And I know that there was a lot of support for her from people in the wrestling side of the equation. So I don't know. I don't know the story. I don't know how she supposedly got treated badly on her way out the door. I don't know any of that. I just know in working with her, I kind of dug her and was a little disappointed because she got hurt. She blew up her Achilles heel, I believe, an Achilles tendon shortly after I started working with her. And then she didn't know if she was ever going to come back. It's a pretty serious injury to come back from, especially if you're not, 16, 18, 19 years old. But she did make a comeback, I believe. It must not have worked out for her, but whatever.
I was just waiting for Christy's reaction.
Is there heat there between you two?
We talk off camera, me and these guys sometimes, and they know some experiences that I've had over there with some people.
You know what? And I respect that because I had a casual impression from someone doesn't mean I knew them. So there you go.
Yeah. Ooh, Josh Eternal. This guy.
Yeah, right.
Ooh. Has Roman Reigns cemented himself as a top 5 all-timer? I really want Easy-E's question. Answer to that because I refute it.
I think that's real. So what happened? You got Rock, you got Stone Cold Steve Austin, you got Hulk Hogan, you got Ric Flair, you got Undertaker, you got John Cena. You got a lot of guys that are arguably more successful or have had reached a higher level of success that at this point Roman has achieved. Now, 5 years from now could be a different conversation, but as of this moment, I think that's some fanboy stuff right there.
Oh yeah,
I have.
That's Vern Gagne, Harley Race, Jesus Christ, Luthez. All of those come before Roman.
Andre, throw Andre the Giant.
Andre, 100%.
There's a lot of people, and a lot of it is subjective. I always go to, in terms of who's drawn the most money for the industry in general, not even just for WWE, but who elevated the industry in general. Hulk certainly did. Rock certainly did. Steve Austin certainly did. Ric Flair certainly did during the peak of his career. And so many others. Throw Randy Savage in there. Come on now. Mm-hmm. Come on. Top 5. Come on.
If we're talking anything of all time, I would exclude any current superstar. Any current, I would say John Cena because he's part-time. But if you're trying to tell me of all time, I would exclude Roman Reigns because he's still doing it. Mm-hmm. Would be the easiest way to classify it.
Yeah, and that's why I say 5 years from now, maybe a different conversation. Building a hell of a track record. Give him that.
Right. One more super chat from Mick Mac, which is all caps put over Steve Kaufmann, also known as Steve the Pirate. He is the glue that holds ad-free together. Also, did you get effed up in Las Vegas?
Oh yeah, that's what we want to know.
No, I was there by myself. I got in on a Monday. I had to do a panel discussion early Tuesday morning, so I got in. Went out and found a sushi bar outside off the strip, Osaka. Highly recommend Osaka sushi. Really good. Doesn't look like much on the outside. It's off the strip. Not a sketchy part of town, but certainly not the strip. And in a little strip mall. From the outside, you go, I don't know if I want to eat in there. Some of the best sushi I've had in a long time. Long time. Osaka. Tell them Garett Bischoff sent you, because I'm going back at the end of May, and I'd really appreciate all the help you could give me, because as good as it is, shit is expensive.
It absolutely is. And now that we got the rundown on your Vegas trip, we are going to wrap for our 83-week subscribers. We want to thank everybody who's tuned in live tonight and hung out with us. Remember, if you subscribe over at Ad Free Shows, you can join this after party that goes down right now. And we will be back next Thursday talking with Eric again. We hope you can join us live at 5 p.m. Pacific time right here on the 83 Weeks channel. We will see you then. Ad Free Show, folks. Stay tuned.
That's some serious porn music.
I think so. That paired with the mustache.
The mustache.
Yeah, I think so. I'm getting a vibe. It's a vibe.